Hey guys, today we have the brand new VF shaft in hybrid form. You've seen it for driver fairway wood. Everybody calls it the Tiger shaft, you know. It's the newest shaft from Graphite design, and it is phenomenal if you need stability and if you swing hard. Now we've got it for hybrids. All right, so up first is going to be an 85-gram stiff shaft. This is a very low spin, low launching profile shaft. So even at an 85 stiff, it's going to be pretty low. We're using a Ping G430 19-degree 3 hybrid. We're just going to put it in the standard position. Easy for me to say. Let's hit a few shots. So first impression of this 85 stiff is that if I get after it a little bit, it cuts a little bit. So I'm not, an extraordinarily fast swinger, but I hit it pretty good. And it could be that this shaft is just a little too light or not quite stiff enough for me. So we'll see as we move up through the ranks. Okay, we're going to 95-gram stiff. That was 85-gram stiff. I think the 95 might be more in my wheelhouse in terms of what I like for a feel of a hybrid. So let's see if this goes a little bit straighter. So much better control with the 95 versus the 85 for me personally. My club head speed is 92 miles an hour on that last swing. So, right around 90-ish, that 95 grams working a little better so far. Okay, so 95S was a big success. I felt like I really had control over it. I did hit one little cut at the end, but the rest of them were either straight or draws. So over the 85, it was better. And my efficiency jumped, or smash factor, if you want to call it that, jumped to 1.45, 1.44, 1.46. I mean, it was consistently above the 1.4 number that we look for in a hybrid. So really strong on the efficiency. So now we're going to hit 95X, and let's see how that goes. What we're going to be looking for when we do our breakdown at the end, of course, is noticing how the spin numbers change and the launch changes as we move through heavier and stiffer shafts. so I'm digging the 95X. I like it. It's similar feel to the 95 stiff. I would say 95 stiff probably felt just a little bit better, but this 95X definitely works. All right, looking good on the 95s. Let's jump up to a 105 and see what happens. A little bit heavier shaft. Okay, I really liked the 95X, and I like the 95 stiff as well, so either one of those I'm pretty happy with. What's interesting about this shaft is you're not supposed to tip it, which is really weird. Normally with shafts, especially with a hybrid shaft or an iron shaft, if it's parallel tip, we tip it and keep cutting it a little bit more and a little bit more depending on which one it's going in. So for instance, if this was a 2 hybrid, we wouldn't tip it at all. If it was a 3, there might be a 1/2 inch cut. If it was a 4, there might be a 1 inch cut, and so on. So what that does is it sets the weight properly, it sets the kick point properly, because we're moving through different lofts of heads. But this shaft is so stiff and so stable that Graphite Design has told us don't tip it no matter what you put it in. Even if you put it in a 7 hybrid, you're not supposed to tip it. So we didn't tip any of these. So all of these are raw from the tip side. They're just butt cut to length. My man Jerry did a great job building all these up so that they're nice and even and stable. And this is going to be the 105S. So we're going to try this out. A little bit heavier. I think I'm going to like it, but let's find out. I'm seeing the ball tail just a little bit with the 105, and I'm betting that that's because I'm just not quite strong enough to hit it, and so it's hard to get that club face square through impact. Of course, with an adjustable hybrid, you could fix that, and this is an adjustable hybrid, but that's not the test we're doing today. All right, just first impression of this 105 stiff. I like the way it feels, but I gotta say it's just a little bit firm for me. It could be the weight, probably the weight. It just feels a little bit firm. The results were actually pretty good, but I definitely had more control in the 95 range. So let's take it one step further and go up to 105X and see what happens. All right, we're moving up to the big dog now, 105X. This one's gonna be a little meatier, a little bit harder to swing. I might try to put a little extra mustard on it. I don't know, we'll see. But definitely gonna have to, there's no way I'm gonna hit this square unless I really get through it. The problem with swinging shafts that are too heavy or too stiff for you is that you have to then manipulate the golf club, you have to put extra into it, and that just doesn't work a lot of times. So you got to be careful. A lot of times people think, well, I can handle that. You might be able to handle it for a couple of holes, but then later in the round you may get tired and you just can't do it anymore. right, there's 105X, just like I thought was going to happen. They kind of tail off to the right a little bit unless I really catch them on the little side of the toe. It's just a strong shaft. It's too strong for me, but we'll see it in. All right, so we tested all of these 5 different iterations of the Graphite Design VF hybrid shaft, and let's check out the results here. So what we've got is the best 5 or 6 swings out of each one. You know, if I'm doing a test and I hit one that's just really not good, like let's say I hit a fat shot or it's super not indicative of what it should have been, then I really don't like to leave those kinds of shots in the test. I want to look at like the best swings of each one. I know sometimes, and maybe we can do this down the road where we do a test where we literally leave in every swing no matter what, but the problem with that is if I catch one really funky, right, and the thing just flies 100 yards offline, well, that's just going to skew the numbers so bad, and it's hard to understand what's happening with the shaft. So we don't really want to do that. So let's look at the shafts here. VF 85 stiff, 95 stiff, 95X, 105 stiff, 105X. You'll notice all the ball speeds right around 133. Crept up a little bit more as we got into some weight, 95 stiff and 105 stiff, a little bit faster, but when we go to the X's, it actually drops just a little bit. So I just don't have quite, you know, enough club head speed to get that, to keep the ball speed up when we go to the X. Launches are pretty low. This was a 19-degree hybrid, G430 Ping, so pretty forgiving hybrid, and the launches were still pretty low. So again, that tells you how low launch this particular shaft is. And the back spins varied a little bit. Obviously, again, you're going to see the stiffs. They're going to play with a little more spin typically. The X's are going to play with a little less sometimes. And then, of course, the 85 stiff being so light, it had the most spin at 3,300, so quite a bit more spin there. Side angles were all under 1 degree offline, so that's great. But you'll notice like this big red circle here, or oval, whatever you want to call it, that's that 85 stiff. Again, because it was lighter, it was a little bit harder for me to keep the dispersion in really good. So if we look, we see this orange circle, that's going to be the best dispersion, nice, straightest, tightest. That one is the 95 stiff, and if you remember from the test, I told you that one felt the best to me, just really felt like it was kind of dialed in. That one also had the most distance by only 1 yard. I mean, all these were really close, but 216 versus 215, those are carry numbers. Obviously, a hybrid's going to hop and roll. So if we look at the full carry out, 239 versus 237, 236, 235. So again, a couple extra yards. I don't really care about 2 yards on a hybrid. Obviously, dispersion is the big thing. I want to be able to trust it, that it's going to go straight, and that I'm going to be able to hit it. So all these are good, but you definitely see some slight variation in launch and in spin. And then, like I said, the big thing for me is that dispersion in the end. If we go back to the table and look, we're going to see that the 85 stiff had a descent angle of 38, the 95 stiff 37, the 95X 38, the 105 stiff 39. So we're averaging around 38 to 40, which is enough with a hybrid. It's still going to hop and roll some. I mean, we're not going to just plant it into the green like you would with a 7-iron, but at the same time, we're also not coming in super hot. So even though these VF shafts are really stiff and really low torque and really, you know, designed for that lower flight, lower spin, you still could hold a green with them, especially if you have good club head speed. So yeah, that's what we've got there. I think this was a pretty fun test, and I think you see how evenly they kind of play for the most part at my club head speed of around 92 miles an hour with a hybrid. And obviously, if your club head speed's a little different than that, you're going to maybe require something heavier, maybe require something softer, just whatever. But these are available for demo now, and you can come check them out and see which one works best for you.